So now is the time of year that I start to get those questions from employers. What really is the difference between vacation time and PTO time? So I'd like to take this opportunity to talk to you about those differences. So first, we're going to start with vacation. And vacation time is really one single bucket of time in which the employer puts constraints on how the employee can utilize that time. Vacation is typically used for personal activities such as travel or spending time with family or just rejuvenating oneself. It's typically not used for illness or doctor's appointments. Now, at this point in time, vacation time is not federally mandated. However, we have to look to state law to see how vacation is defined with respect to wages. In many states, accrued unused vacation is actually used in the definition of wages and therefore potentially payable upon termination. So, for example, in the state of Colorado, according to the Colorado Wage Act, vacation pay earned in accordance with the terms of any agreement is actually in the definition of wages to be paid at time of separation. Now, if you have employees in other states, or maybe you're located in another state, you will have to look to the state's definition of wages and see if vacation time is actually included in that definition. So knowing that vacation time may be considered wages and payable at termination, you as an employer may want to figure out a way to limit that vacation time so that you do not have to pay it at time of termination. There are a lot of different methods that you as an employer can utilize to actually minimize that vacation payout. However, I will mention not all of them have been tested in the courts. So please contact Employers Council so we can talk to you about ways to minimize vacation at time of termination. And please also contact us if you have any questions regarding the definition of wages and is vacation included in that for your state. So in a PTO plan, an employer takes the traditional individual buckets of vacation, sick, maybe personal time. It could even include holiday pay or bereavement leave, whatever the employer feels is appropriate to put into this plan, and it becomes one large bucket of time for an employee to utilize as they see fit. There can be different names for this type of plan, flexible time off or personal time bank. It really depends on what the employer wants to call it. Now, just as we talked about for vacation time, there is also the issue of payout at time of termination. Now, what's important to remember about a PTO plan, though, is that we're combining all of those individual buckets of vacation, sick, personal, whatever else you want to include in that. And so we could potentially have a very large bucket of time. And if the employer is allowing the employee to utilize that time as they see fit, it could be considered, quote, vacation time and therefore included in the definition of wages for termination. So this is a significant piece of this plan for an employer to understand, is that there could be a much larger financial payout at time of termination when they decide to go to a paid time off plan. So I also want to mention some advantages and disadvantages when it comes to paid time off plans. And first, I'm going to start with the advantages, the good things about this type of plan. The one thing that employers really do like about PTO plans is they find that it's really an innovative way to reduce unscheduled or unplanned absences. Because employees really can choose how they utilize this plan, there's oftentimes not that uncomfortable conversation between an employee and a supervisor when an employee is calling in for the day pretending to be sick just to have the day off when they're really not sick. Now, of course, they always have to call in for unplanned absences, but it really does get rid of that awkwardness between the employee and the supervisor. The other thing about PTO plans is it really does give the flexibility to the employee to take time off as they see fit. And so they have personal control over how they use the time and when they use the time. And then finally, when it comes to PTO plans, employers actually do find that staffing is a little bit easier because it really does get rid of a lot of those unplanned absences. And finally, on to disadvantages for paid time off plans. Many employers actually prefer to keep the traditional vacation, sick, personal buckets because they truly feel that those programs are there for different reasons. They're distinctly different, and therefore they should be monitored and administered differently. Another disadvantage when it comes to paid time off plans is that some employers feel that employees may not actually use their time appropriately. So, for example, they may utilize all of their time for vacation purposes, not leaving enough time for sick, for illness, for example, or for injury if that were to occur during the year. Another disadvantage is employees actually may come to work sick rather than utilizing a PTO day because they want to utilize all of that time off for vacation purposes. And then finally, employers, it actually may seem like an employer is legitimizing the use of sick time, therefore increasing unplanned absences because an employer has combined vacation and sick time into one bucket. So with that, I hope that clears up some of the questions that you have on vacation plans versus PTO plans. And of course, if you have any questions on anything that I've just discussed or anything that you have going on with your organization regarding these plans, please feel free to give Employers Council a call. We're here to help.